Fantasy football season's here. We've got to tell you the strategy that you should be using in fantasy football leagues this year if you want to win all of your leagues and steal all your friends' money. That's the goal. That's what we're here to help you do. And so for that reason, if you play fantasy football, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We need more subscribers as we keep growing. You really help us out if you'd like to support our channel, trying to bring you the best production quality, the best statistical analysis, the best strategy videos. So make sure you subscribe. And if you could, drop a like on this video. That really, really helps.
I was just liking the video.
Now they're not going to like it now.
That's 2 likes. I did
Yeah,
2
you made
thumbs
that
up.
face, though.
It was a nice face.
All right, flockfantasy.com/domain if you want our exclusive content, all of our rankings, which we'll reference in this video today, articles about fantasy football strategy this year, databases for this year's strategy as well. You get access to our Discord where you can get personalized live advice as you do your drafts, and you can also get a team blueprint. If you've already drafted a team and you want to know what you should be doing with this team moving forward, how you should be approaching this season, you get a team blueprint right here. flockfantasy.com/domain. That's if you choose the annual Mother Flocker tier. And if you use our code domain, you also get 30% off. So like I said, flockfantasy.com/domain. There are lots of different tips you can use to really take advantage of your league mates in fantasy football. It really does depend on who you're playing with, but especially if you're playing in leagues with people you know at home, people like your friends you're playing in leagues, there are some real good tips that I learned a long time ago when I was just a wee lad playing fantasy football. And we both played fantasy football when we were wee lads, so we've been doing it quite a while. We've won some leagues. Here's kind of what we've picked up on in terms of some of the trends. The first one's going to be draft the best player available and don't draft positional backups. Look, I get it. It's popular to go into a draft and be like, okay, all right, so I've got to get Travis Etienne here. And if I'm drafting Travis Etienne, I've got to get Tank Bigsby. I've got to get him, even though you're reaching on Tank Bigsby. And even though there are way better players available. A lot of people want to go for that positional backup or even just like even stacks, reaching for stacks. Like, dude, I've got Jamar Chase. I've got to get T. Higgins.
Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Quentin Johnson.
Look, a couple things. Well, I'm going to make this my next point, and then I'll let you go. But, you need to be drafting the best player available. You need to be drafting based on value. Fantasy predictions have gotten better over the last 5 years. We're better now at predicting fantasy output in a season than we were before. Now, here's the second thing that goes along with this. You shouldn't be chasing positional backups. Also, don't chase stacks. Stacks, if you're playing in a best ball league, are fine, but if you're just playing in a conventional ESPN, CBS, whatever league, sleeper, redraft league, stacks are overrated. They just are. When you look mathematically at the effect stacks can have on your dynasty or on your fantasy team, on your fantasy team, stacks can actually, yes, the boom weeks are great, but the more you diversify, the lower your risk is, which means the higher your floor is going to be week to week. Because while you do have the boom weeks, you also have the bust weeks. Even if you have a week where the Bengals offense scores 7 points, your Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase stack's not going to do very well. Where if you have a week where the Bengals score 7 points, but the 49ers score 50 and you have Joe Burrow and Deebo Samuel, that's going to help you out a little bit more. And again, the risk of that is decreased when you're not chasing stacks. Stacks are a little bit overrated in fantasy football. They're really cool to say that you have, but in reality, how much are they actually helping you win your championships? Not a ton.
Yeah, and to your point there, the reason people like stacks so much and the concept of stacks is because stacks do really help you win your leagues if you're getting them at incredible values. Going into last season where you had like Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and Tua Tagovailoa. Like Tua, there were plenty of questions with him going into the season to a point where you're getting him at a massive discount, and his production way outweighed where he was going in ADP and fantasy, which is why that stack could have panned out. And actually funny, it ended up not at the end of the season because he didn't play.
Yeah,
and guess what happened? You were screwed because of it.
Yes.
So
I've won championships from stacks before. I needed a big performance in the championship game and won a league on a stack.
He knows us all too well.
I've also lost leagues on stacks, and because when you're betting, when you're betting on a stack preseason, you're betting on an offense. We don't know what an offense is going to be like going into an NFL season. We assume that the Bengals are going to have an elite offense, but last year I assumed the Chargers passing game was going to continue to be elite.
They had the sexiest looking offense,
and I bet on every single player in that offense: Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams.
Austin Eckler.
Except for Austin Eckler, the one guy I traded. I thought the passing offense is going to be dynamic. Justin Herbert's going to continue to take a step up. No. So, stacks, they can be good, but if you chase them, a lot of times, number one, you're putting yourself at a value disadvantage, but number two, you might be even putting yourself at a week-to-week winning disadvantage. So, don't be chasing stacks for sure.
Yeah. Next thing is going to be don't be afraid of lead wide receivers and running backs on bad offenses if It's a big if. If the value is there, if the value presents itself, if the value is good. There are a lot of people right now in the fantasy community, a lot of creators that are telling you to avoid these guys, telling you to avoid running backs that have really bad offensive lines going into this season, even though they are ready to go into that offense as bell cow guys. And what you've seen from that is, as a fantasy community should, trust these experts. You've seen the ADP of guys like James Conner falling. What I'm saying is for you guys to pump the brakes a little bit. Let's re-navigate this situation. Let's re-explore now with this new ADP of these guys that are falling because they're in bad offenses. Maybe the value is presenting itself now where it's okay to take a guy like James Conner. I mean, currently Conner is going from an ADP perspective in PPR on ESPN, going just behind Darren Waller, Hollywood Brown, who is going to be catching passes from Colt McCoy. I'll trust the runner on that offense more than Marquise Brown.
For sure.
Mike Evans, DJ Moore, who is in the worst passing offense in the NFL, and Mike Williams, who can't stay healthy, Alexander Madison, who is starting his first season as a full bell cow running back. We're assuming he's going to be a bell cow. James Conner has actually done it before, and he finished as the RB9 on a points per game basis last season, and he did most of that when Kyler Murray was injured. What do we think he's going to do this year? Yes, I understand their offensive line is abysmal. He doesn't even have to be efficient. He's proven he doesn't have to be efficient from a yards per carry perspective. He can put up 3.7 yards per carry and get you 18 touchdowns and finish as the RB6 on the year. And he's falling because...
learned that the hard way.
Yes. I was one of the biggest, 2 years ago, I was one of the biggest James Conner haters going into the season. I was a Chase Edmonds truther. I absolutely loved his receiving upside, as many did, and I was completely wrong. It blew up in my face. I sold Conner at a discount because I didn't want him on my team, and boy, did I eat it. I lost a dynasty championship because of it. And it sucks. And yeah, I was hurt by that. And yeah, now I like James Conner because he proved me wrong. But I mean, at the price this season, how can you not love the price? He's going cheaper than he has in years.
Yeah. And people are avoiding him because of his bad offensive line.
The same thing here is going to apply to wide receivers that are supposedly in bad situations. A guy like Jordan Addison, who, yes, he's in a very good passing offense, but he's being shorted because he's playing behind Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson. Well, I'm here to tell you that TJ Hawkinson does not play the same position as Jordan Addison, so he's not going to take away from Jordan Addison. And we've also seen Adam Thielen produce as a top 16 wide receiver with Justin Jefferson in the same offense. Kirk Cousins absolutely has the volume. Jordan Addison at wide receiver, I think 38 on Underdog. And I'm not sure about ESPN here. I haven't pulled it up. He's moved up a couple spots. Yeah. So look, a guy like that, I'm absolutely taking a shot on.
A guy who's replacing the guy who was second in route like total routes run last year in the entire league, second only to Justin Jefferson, like Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about and you're talking about Adam Thielen, who played like last year pretty much in a wheelchair. So I'll let you get the next one as well.
So draft for upside, not insurance. This is kind of going to go hand in hand with positional backups, where once you're getting to your rounds 15 to 18, you want to start looking for, I mean, look, let's be honest. The chances of you even holding on to those guys in rounds 15 to 18 is, significantly less than the guys going ahead, obviously because of their ADP. But why not take your shot on a guy who actually has legitimate upside instead of just assuming that at some point Christian McCaffrey is going to get injured and you'll want to have Elijah Mitchell on your roster? What's Elijah Mitchell doing for you on your bench until then? No. If that even happens. He's doing absolutely nothing.
You got to shoot for the stars. Yeah. And going along with that, being aggressive wins you championships, not safety. If you're going through these drafts and you're like, okay, I'm going to look at the highest projected points this season, and I'm just going to take the highest one every time. Yeah, that's great. And you're going to be projected to win the league when you come out of the draft, which is cool until you don't win the league. And who does win the league? The league winners are typically going to be later round guys that have high upside that people take shots on. I mean, they're going to be guys like, for example, Jameson Williams is a guy right now that's being not drafted super high in fantasy football leagues. Jameson Williams is a guy, former top 12 pick in the NFL draft, a big play guy that has some explosive high upside capabilities. And personally, I'm not in on JMO, but this is just an example. Christian Watson is also one. Christian Watson's a guy that we've seen his ceiling actually in games last year in a 4-game stretch that was otherworldly. Yeah. And he's going in the 5th round in any ESPN draft. So
be ballsy.
Look, shooting for the stars will do it. Like, I mean, even drafting a D-Hop. Like, D-Hop, yeah, it's not a sexy pick. The Titans are not a sexy landing spot. But DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, is DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
He is, and he looked good last year when he played.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing here. Use expert rankings. Look, we've got expert rankings over at flockfantasy.com/domain. You get it with literally any tier that you...
Look how we got that in there.
I'm literally getting good at this now.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just kidding. But I'm serious, though. Like, you get it with any tier. Even the monthly Flocker tier, you get our rankings. Like, if you're going to do anything, go over and get our rankings. You obviously want the other Flocker tier, but having expert rankings to compare as you go through a fantasy draft and check people off, cross people off, huge. You need to be going and getting expert rankings, and I would obviously recommend our own because we've done, a fair amount more research than a lot of our colleagues. So, like I said, flockfantasy.com/domain, but...
Next thing is going to be do your research. And yes, there's only so far.
Be a nerd.
There's only so far that expert rankings are going to get you. You have got to use your brain. You got to utilize your own personal opinion on some of these guys. Yes, expert. We may be experts, but we are wrong about a lot of things, just like you.
Yeah,
we are.
I wouldn't even call myself an expert.
If you want to call your shot on a guy, as long as it's reasonable and it's not about Tony Pollard, do it. Absolutely do it.
Yeah.
Because that's how that's another way that you win your championships. We both know this from experience. We've called our shots on guys before. We've been absolutely right. And we've won championships because of it. It's as simple as that. Doing your research means watching videos on YouTube from other experts, getting multiple perspectives, getting multiple opinions. This is by watching your own film, watching games from last season, looking up your own stats on free websites like Player Profiler. It is easy. It's absolutely easy. You need to be doing that. And another thing with this is like kind of a side note and something that I didn't mention earlier about being aggressive, winning your championships and drafting for upside. Like, don't draft Roshan Johnson and Khalil Herbert and Deontay Foreman.
It's a waste.
It's a waste of 3 picks. Draft one of them, and when you do 5 leagues, draft a different one each time.
Draft none of them. Because committee backs suck to try to predict. Avoid them. People are going to draft Khalil Herbert. Play mind games. Play mind games with your league mates. This is fun. I like to do this during the draft, like make it seem like I'm targeting somebody and then take somebody like completely different. When you're trading, trade strategy is a lot of mental chess. Like, be smart about how you're approaching your conversations with your league mates, and it'll give you a slight advantage, especially if you're manipulative like me. I'm a pretty manipulative trader in fantasy football for sure. And then last thing, as Nathan learned last year. Defense and kicker.
Funny.
So we did a league, and we were in it, and it was a redraft league. Producer Sam was in there. Our wives were in there. Some of our family. So it was just like a fun, laid back redraft league.
And guess what? We both ended up in dead last.
Literally last.
Both of us.
11th and 12th.
Yep.
But during the draft, I got crapped on by Nathan because everybody was selecting defense and I didn't select a defense. And he's like, "You're going to regret that. Defense in redraft leagues, like blah, blah, blah." And like, I had played in redraft leagues before. I was like, "Okay, boomer, whatever." And so I was like, I think I know what I'm doing. I mean, I was the last person to select a defense. I selected the Cowboys defense, who the year before was like the 5th ranked defense or something. And so I'm like, here's the long story short. They were the last defense off the board. Kicker. I waited. I was the last one to do kicker too. I was just stacking up value at other positions, and obviously it didn't work because I didn't win the league.
Dead last. Yeah.
But
it didn't benefit me to draft a defense or a kicker either.
And
so
it doesn't. Defense and kicker can wait. No. They absolutely are not the most important things. Yes, it's good to have an advantage at every position, but you can gain advantages at other more important positions that are going to have more starting lineup slots, and later get defense and kicker that's absolutely going to sustain you at a level where your team's going to be competing with other ones. So yeah, those
just
are
funny. I don't even know why I crapped on you that time because we both played for years, and like I knew better, and
funny.
I was like, what can I find to crap on Avery for? He's not drafting a defense. He's going to have to pick up off waivers. I was dumb. I was dumb.
I don't care. I don't think it's going to work. But
it ultimately ended up us both sucking. So whatever.
Which is
who cares?
Again, and I guess the last thing, real quick, I'll throw this in here. Fantasy football is a lot of luck. So that's why going with your gut sometimes just pays off. Like, I had my gut feeling and it worked, and it was luck. But who cares?
Which is why you diversify. That's something we didn't even put on here, but you need to diversify. If you're playing in multiple fantasy leagues, I understand there are some guys that you can draft a lot more often than others, but there need to be some leagues where you're not drafting them.
Yep.
Because it will blow up in your face. If you have the 101 like 3 different times and you're drafting Jonathan Taylor every single time, it screwed you.
Yeah.
It screwed you.
So resources to help you win your fantasy leagues over at flockfantasy.com/domain. We've got all that for you. We've got rankings, articles, we've got databases. You can get access to our Discord where you can get one-on-one feedback from us and also live draft advice, which is really helpful. You get in listener leagues. You can actually play in some leagues with us. And if you do the annual Mother Flocker tier, you get one of these. Yeah. Player blueprint. It's going to give you a good idea of what your team build is like, some moves that you should try to make with your league mates, and what your projected outcome could be this year. We're going to grade it for you. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't. Make sure you like the video. We appreciate you. See you later.